Yes.
All right, it's the Thursday show. Pressing the button.
Yippee.
Roll it.
Thursday show.
Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello, hello.
I always love it when you're excited. That always makes it much better for me. It really does. There we go, bringing it. Welcome back, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. It is what it is. All right. Welcome back, everybody at home. We are here in the Late Night Playset. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans. And we've got a fantastic guest for everyone this evening. Miss Martina Kwan is here, female race car driver and a good friend of ours, somebody we see at all the events. She's going to be in here to talk about all the things. Not only Porsche, too. You race Porsche, but also Saleen, I think, as well. We'll talk about all that stuff. Mrs. Ryan, how the heck are you doing?
Oh, my God, I'm great, husband guy. I'm fine. It's been a super stressful week.
Yeah, it has for you. Why is that?
A lot of business stuff that people don't understand. Things take weird turns, and I'm not always. I used to plan everything out, and I'm very
like a
rigid.
lot of people.
And so when things switch on me and change,
What switched on you so that maybe we can help? Does anybody know what you're talking about?
I made a kerfuffle about booking some dates for January, so I'll own that right now.
Oh, okay.
Our first week back, but also budget stuff that like different languages, semantics, words mean stuff, and you say that a lot often about just life, and I feel like there's a lot of intersections that people don't realize they trip into sometimes, myself included.
Yeah, that's true.
Semantics are just tricky. So.
Do you mean like when people are talking out of turn and they don't even realize it, or do you mean when someone thinks they understand? What exactly do you mean?
Assumption of understanding is something I deal with health stuff often.
Yeah.
And I am, I'm narcissistic about that stuff. Sorry, I'm working on it. But I do find that happens casually often as well. People assume words, they assume they understand things or that things work a certain way, and they don't, and it puts other people in situations, and it's just one of those things we all have to figure out.
I do know what you mean, but is this a human problem, or is this something going on that's very specific? Is this just one of the things where like we as humans have a thing where we all do this? Is it that kind of thing, and someone or some people are falling into that category, or is this something like specific? You know what I'm saying, right? Like, is it somebody or is it, and I'm not trying to lead the witness here.
It's a combination of both, and that's the intersection we all fall into of like wanting to do a good job and be good versus doing the right thing versus being present, which is not always even part of the equation.
That's a balancing act for all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm bad at all of them, so I get to teach all the pieces when it can go well, how it can go well.
So you're learning and teaching at the same time? I feel like that may be all of us.
I think that's all of us, and I'm grateful to have people like you and angel advisors and angel investors that I can talk to, because I am lost as shit and want to navigate things the right way.
Yeah, it's weird. The life reshuffle we talk about a lot on this show. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we talked about a life reshuffle a couple years ago, and it's kind of funny when a lot of people may not, if they've never gone through one or don't know what that means, they probably don't really know what exactly that means, and it's kind of like you have to throw out everything. And everything you knew and everything you thought you knew and everything you thought you were working towards and everything you were working towards, all of the stuff in order to make room for everything new. And it's kind of that simple. It's one of those where, we all build these lives in our minds and whatever we want and what we're working towards and all that stuff. And it's kind of all a fake reality. It's not happening yet. You know what I mean? These are the things that we're working towards. So that is, it's wet matter. It changes constantly. So some people are more goal-driven. We're like, oh, you reach this point, then you reach this point, and then you reach this point. And then some people, I think, more artistically are a little more creative. And I think you're falling into that category these days, which I think may be why you're having a struggle, because you're so used to doing it the analytical way. It's a more fluid system. It's like, well, we moved in that direction, and we're always moving in that direction, and we don't exactly know, but we know it's good, and we know it's happening. And, the thing with, we're going to get to Dave Watch, of course, but the thing with Letterman's guy, I mean, that's happening. Yeah. It's a comment from our typical usual bitter commenter about that, and it's like one of those, we can't let that get to us. I let it get to me all the time, but I can't. You talk me out of it.
I take it on myself.
So I guess maybe you're going through the same thing that I always go through, and that's the artist struggle, which is you're trying to please everybody. That's not possible. You can only play for yourself and then hope that other people, and do it for good reasons, and hope that other people come along.
Yes, and I get caught up and I put my foot in my mouth about that all the time because I want to do the right thing for everyone, and that's not possible.
No, that's what turns you into the old chameleon, which made you so good at your old job, but made you bad at being a person and
it's a bad
keeping
life
yourself
model.
together. Yeah,
not great.
You were worried more about everybody else than yourself.
Yes, and now I'm redesigning that mental construct.
I'm glad we took the time to talk about that.
Me too. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you for staying with us while we did it.
Thanks, guys.
Martina, thank you. Okay, what do we have to do? Oh, you know what? I wanted to ask you this because it's been on all of the, almost anything I've looked at today talks about the last full moon of the year, and you're into that stuff. And it's today, I think.
It was this morning or last night, depending on what time zone you're in.
You're kidding.
12:12 in the morning on the 12th of December.
Is that true?
12, yes.
Oh, gosh, I was awake at that time because, I was working, and it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into it. I'll just tell you because we were letting everybody. I was sitting on the toilet at that time. I was going to the bathroom, and there was a skylight in our bathroom, and I didn't turn the light on because it was late, and I noticed there's a night light in there, but I noticed that the bathroom was very illuminated, and I looked up, and I was looking up at that what I thought was a day shy of the full moon, but apparently it was probably the full moon at almost exactly that moment.
Probably almost
right
just then. That's awesome.
So I saw it then. I didn't miss it this time.
No, you
All
saw
right.
it.
But isn't there like there's an energy? Is there something
It's a Gemini full moon, which is the sign of the twins, which is duality just inherently. Good and evil, light and dark, like the ends of the spectrum.
Oh.
And it's also the last full moon of the year.
Right.
So there's a ton of energy.
12-12, that's a thing, right?
It's a
Mayan
portal.
calendar in the old days.
It's a portal, astrologically speaking. 12/12, the date, is a big deal. So that this was on 12/12 on the East Coast, it was also a big deal. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I think so. Can I change the subject? Can I get on to show stuff?
Yes.
Sorry, I realized clock's ticking
Yeah.
and we're just, hey, everybody. We got another... this was something that was sent to you I think it was maybe even a couple weeks. It was during the break. And it went onto the coffee table, and it went onto the shelf, and then we came back to the show, and we forgot to bring it up. Somebody sent you a lovely gift the other day that arrived in the mail, and it's the latest edition of. Oh, there's no way you can see that. Well, it's Flat Six Love Affair. I'll get a close up of that after. We'll put it in. It's Bart. I always say his name wrong. I used to say Kukins, but I think it's Kikins.
I didn't say it right to his face, and I just called him Bart, and we laughed, and his book is gorgeous.
Well, did you notice what he wrote to you?
No.
It's 301 of 9/11, and then it's signed, of course. But he wrote, "See you soon, Nicole. Bart."
Man.
What I was taken with, of course, if anybody out there, you probably already have this. These books are fantastic. The photography is beautiful, and the stories are great. There's little blurbs of who each person is and why the car, etc. But what I was taken with more as I was flipping through was how many people we know both in it and who contributed to it. There's many, many people and faces that we know in this book, from the names that everybody knows, like Magnus and John Benton and Rod Emery, but also like Kevin Lynch is in here, and who else did I see? But Maria Britt Pop-Tart is in here.
No way.
And with their
everybody.
cars. And beyond that, some of the contributors photography-wise, I noticed for sure Brittany Hamilton's name.
Cool.
And if she's in there, I'm assuming there's Matt Smoking Tire. Anyway, highly recommend. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous book full of beautiful photography. The Flat Six Love, where most of you Porsche people already know about this series. But
I know him and Zwart were down in Miami.
that was the thing they invited us to at the Art Basel, yeah.
So that's a great art event. I remember it from my old PR days, but that fits in beautifully, perfectly with that event.
And you got a new Porsche book.
Thanks, Art.
Bart.
Jesus. I'm so glad we're both weird about names, he and I.
Okay, there's that. I got a TBT video. It's kind of short.
Okay.
Can you roll it?
Yeah.
All right. Do we still have time? All right.
Yeah.
Okey-doke. Oh, you know what? East Coast feed and a TBT. We got both. Which one do you want first?
East Coast feed.
Right. East Coast feed. Roll it, Hal.
East Coast feed. cool. I got whoopee cushion.
Nailed it. Dad's kid
You
right
love it?
there.
Will you blow it up again?
Of course I'll blow it up again. So, hey, someone got a whoopee cushion today from one of my clients as the funniest toy ever. And what else did they give you? What else did they give you? What are you eating? What are you eating? Tell me what you're eating. Lollipop and one more thing. What does it do? Show them. Whoa! So cool. That was it. We just wanted to say whoopee cushion fun on a Friday evening. Say hi to Hershey and Brooke. There they are. There we go. Bye, guys. Say bye, Nicole.
Bye, Cole.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, that house has to be so loud.
I was thinking the same thing. When I look inside that place, I remember when he bought that place. It's in, I can say this is in Danbury, Connecticut. But once you get inside, step over the threshold, you are full blown in Queens. That's what his house looked like in Queens when he grew up with his family and the stuff everywhere and the kids and the more toys for the adult than the kids. Outstanding. And it's the best possible life that guy could have made for himself. It's all the things he loves.
Yeah, and it shows. He looks so happy every time. I'm so glad.
I'm proud to call that guy one of my best friends in the entire world. Love you, Danbury Chives, Steve Kaz. And the whole family now. There's a whole freaking family attached to him.
Yeah. And by default, because I'm married into it, I love you guys too, and I'm so glad to have met you.
They love you too. TBT, Mrs. Ryan.
Okay.
Roll it out. We found the donut man. There's Mrs. Ryan right over there. Good morning. Here we are, Sherwood one. Plus this little guy. Hi, buddy. He's all right.
Donuts.
Do you remember that day, Mrs. Ryan?
Yeah, I do. Oh, I mean, anything with donuts like that. I'm easy.
Donut man. Those were good donuts too. They made a Boston cream that was off the charts.
I know. I remember good donuts.
That's funny. We go back there. Shout out to Sherwood Lee, who put that whole thing together and puts together a wonderful monthly event that goes on over it and locking you out of there. A lot of fun. Usually it's just a car show thing, but there was a drive, and actually it happened last weekend, and it was sort of rained. The weather wasn't that great.
Well, okay.
But Sherwood Lee is so great. And then Chuck Miller there at the end. We haven't seen him in a while, and he's just one of the best guys in the world, and we're such fans of his. Such fans of you, Chuck. Please come back and talk to us soon.
Can't wait to see you, bud.
Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question. That's all. I've got it all ready. It's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. What's going on, Mrs. Ryan?
I will cut this down. Okay. Vision is a thing for AI, as in like how we drive cars and how machines do things, right? Like that's just part of future life.
Sensors, vision, cameras.
The vision of artificial intelligence, so like what they take in and
Oh, yeah,
how
okay.
they understand what they see. That's a focal point of a new study. And there's new. I'm glad. Here's the thing. I don't like the automation element of any of this, but it is what it is, and it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just grateful that people are not just stopping with, "Oh, we can do this." Like there's a company that's like creating different perspectives, different visual perspectives for AI to learn. Like chairs are sometimes upside down. It's still a chair.
What?
Chairs, in some, depending on what you look at, can be upside down. It's still a chair. And so right now AI doesn't know
Oh,
what
I
that
see your
is.
point. Yes, the visual perspectives. I see your point. Humans and animals are differentiated very much so. Cats will often look at you upside down, and they're able to, no problem. Fish, often similar thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked to
Boy, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's a new layer that we're going to.
Yeah.
Which is great. It kind of goes along with, I know we talked about it yesterday with Jordan. I can't remember if it was on the show or not. But people understand things differently, and
Yes.
they take information in differently. And this is just an expansion of machines do too.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
before you just put all your faith in whatever you think knows everything, whether it's a person or a computer or something telling you how to drive your car, look at how it's learning.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do to help expand the breadth of knowledge it's basing its common sense on?
Man, that's wild.
It's not.
I don't want. Everything comes down to geometry if you believe some things and how some people are. So this almost is a type of, you know what I mean, like dimensionality comes down to geometry and things like that. I wonder if this may be the same thing, and that's where it'll end up ultimately. Yeah, it's a chair when you spin it from every direction and everything, and then you end up with, it's that geometry, like the circles and the pattern of life and all that stuff.
It's all weird. We're in the middle of evolution, so that is real. So everyone can just understand that that's what it is.
That's always going on.
But like this is just part of the process. So this is expanding the perspectives of AI as part of the process. Someone's doing it. I'm just super glad. Okay. Similarly speaking, of expanding perspectives that I'm not totally sure about and I'm bored with, but I'm fascinated and curious. In the UK, a new research study is showing that you can get similar results to putting basically emojis of exercises compared with nutrition facts, showing people like you have to walk a certain amount of time to eat this bag of chips.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
In some cases, it works. There's already the backlash of like, what about anorexics and
I feel like we did
disabled
this
and
in
whatever.
the 90s or something. At some point, it was like 3 flights of stairs. We'll take care of this Hershey bar or something like that.
It's all coming back around,
Okay,
but now
okay.
that nutrition labels are mandated, that's expanding to say, how do you define what that means?
Right. I think we've talked about. Well, I don't want to. We've talked about this before. My dad was in the advertising industry, and he was around when the government made the nutrition when it first became a
So
thing.
we had to change
They had
everything.
one of their clients was General Foods, so of course that's Kraft, it's Campbell's Soup, it's almost everybody, it's all of the stuff, and they took that opportunity to redo all of their packaging at that time since they had to anyway, and it was a big deal. And this would have been in the early '90s.
I remember learning about that.
So they're
then.
doing it again, where there's a new mandated thing, and it'll just be different information now or more information.
In the UK, they're exploring that as a possibility. We'll
Cool.
see.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, this is just funny to me, so I'll end on this one. In Florida, a high school bus was evacuated because of Axe body spray.
Because of Axe body spray?
Yeah, like
As in somebody sprayed it and it was just too sexy?
it was just too potent.
Okay. Not like there was a label was ripped off and they thought it was a bomb. No, it was just too toxic.
People aren't sure if it was a prank or if it was just someone putting on too much like we used to do with perfume. But
And then walk through it and all.
So everyone can expand their understanding of what smells mean now because there's no need for respiratory problems, which is what happened and why this bus was evacuated of high school students.
I remember when I was a kid, and I'm not positive of this, but I'm pretty sure when I was like a really little kid, the bus driver was smoking. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure because it wasn't a thing.
Everything's
I vaguely have a
tweaking.
memory of a bus driver I had that was smoking.
I feel like I do too. That's so weird to think
So it's kind of
about.
like, I mean, it's all bad. What are you going to do?
It's all there.
All right, and that's been What's Going On, Mrs. Ryan?
Oh, no.
Ugh, okay. All right, we'll skip the other stuff and do a break and get our guest in here. We good?
Okay,
Everything
yeah.
else good and wrapped up? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Late Night Playset will be right back. We're going to have Martina Kwan in here for a fantastic conversation that we are both looking very much forward to. Late Night Playset will be back right after this. More to come. Say everything twice today. Okay.
Oh, so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by Bears. Garlic and serrano mixed with love and care. You can put it on your eggs, pour it on your rice. It's great on a leg, it's better on a slice. It's oh so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by Bears. Oh, so delicious hot sauce. Great on everything except oatmeal.
Get your bottle today at ohsodelicious.org. $1 from every bottle sold goes to the National Military Family Association.
Let's do the thing.
Right. Thanks for the mic lessons.
And with that, we are back, and we are sitting here with Martina Kwan. Hello, Martina Kwan.
Hi, how
Can
are
I call you a
you?
female race car driver? Because that's how I sort of met you. Female race car driver. That's not an uncommon term these days. But a couple years ago, it was kind of like there was Danica Patrick and only a couple others. Shirley Muldowney when I was a kid in the Top Fuel.
It's really specific.
And the first day we ever saw you, we drove past your car, and look at that, it's got numbers on it. Wait a second, it's got a Martini livery. No, that's not Martini, it's Martina. What's going on here? And it was on our way to the that Lake Arrowhead event,
That's right.
I think.
Yeah, the
for
Porsche timeline.
Porsche timeline for PCA Riverside, I think. And that was the first time we'd ever known about you, met you, and then since then your social media has blown up. You're out driving all over the place. We see you at events. We've become friends. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with how the heck did this all get to be? Were you always into cars? When did you pick this up? Tell us anything you want to start.
I mean, not really. I lived in cities growing up, around in different countries. And so we lived in apartments. And they were sort of, take public transportation, buses and trains kind of cities versus driving.
Mm-hmm.
So cars weren't really a big part of my life until I moved to Florida the second time after I moved to the States, because I lived in New York City for many, many years. And of course, there you don't really need
Don't
a
need
car.
much of that,
unless
yeah.
You're going to go skiing, that kind of thing.
You rent
So-
one.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you then before the States? Can we say that?
Yeah, so I was born in Hong Kong, and then we moved to Beirut, Lebanon. We had to leave because of the war, and we moved to where my mom's from, which is Hamburg, Germany.
Oh, wow.
And back to the Middle East, to Bahrain. After that, we moved to Amsterdam. Back
So
to
this is
Germany.
why your accent's so exotic. We can't place it. She's just exotic.
Back to Hamburg, and then I graduated and started college in Switzerland before I moved here.
So all of that moving was call it 20 years old, something like that, early 20s?
Yeah, I graduated at 17, so yes.
Holy smokes. Okay, so you're pretty smart too. All right, did you skip a grade? We had Diane here the other day. She skipped first grade.
I did. I skipped it.
Skip which one?
8th grade.
8th grade. Oh, that's,
That's a big
tougher. See, that to me would be tougher.
It was tough. It's ironic because I had come from Germany. We moved to Bahrain, and they gave me the admissions test, and I scored, I guess, too high on the math, so they skipped a grade. But ever since then, I sort of fell behind in math, so
that
it was
funny?
sort of, and also I think it's important to stay with kids your own age rather than, be the youngest in 9th grade.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was 13 and the rest were all the way up to 16, and that's sort of a really big age difference.
You're going from 7th grade to high school. You're skipping 8th grade. That is, to me, so tough. I can't even imagine. I wasn't ready for high school when I got there
There's
at
so
the right
many
age of
social
14.
steps in that get missed if you skip 8th grade. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Development-wise.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I don't want to hang on that, but okay, so you skipped 8th grade, and so 17 is when you graduated? But high school?
High school.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Well, me
yeah.
too then in that case.
Yeah, yeah.
She's not that smart. No, I'm just kidding.
Me too. You're on even playing field.
Okay, but still, so by 17 years old, you had done all that moving around. It probably helped you be a more well-rounded person, even though you might be developmentally challenged in some places. So then what happened? 17 and you're...
Yeah, so I wasn't really ready to leave Europe. I graduated from, we went to international schools in Hamburg and Amsterdam, and I don't know, I really loved Europe. I had never been to the United States, so I went to a really small school in Switzerland, the American College of Switzerland in Lausanne, and it was so much fun. I mean, it was in a ski resort.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That
really
is awesome college life.
defining, one of the most defining 2 years of my life. I made some really great friends, and we traveled every weekend to different ski resorts or different cities, and it was really
Well, you
a
brought up
wonderful-
skiing twice, so I'm assuming you ski then.
I do. Although now with the race car driving, I have to say it's no longer my favorite sport. You know, it was for so many years, and I really enjoyed it. But that and horseback riding. But now I sort of don't really want to go skiing because I don't want to hurt myself. I'd rather go race car driving.
Rather be race ready.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a good endorsement.
All right, so we're still at a period with no cars
Yeah.
before we get to the racing. So where are we now?
So I moved from Switzerland. I transferred to the University of Miami, got my bachelor's degree, and then
And that was your first time in the U.S.?
yeah, it was such a culture shock.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think Miami is probably a pretty common first step into this country for a lot of people, and I don't feel that it's the most representative of the greater part of the country.
I agree with you on that. It's loud and bright and colors and international.
So how did that
cabs.
work for you? It's American gaudy, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you brought it up because I arrived and everyone spoke Spanish, and I was so confused. You know what? This
Got on
is
the wrong plane.
America, right? So I wasn't, quite frankly, a huge fan at that point. But so after I graduated, I got my first Master of Science in Hotel Management, and that was an interest that I had. Hotels, you know, from living in different places and traveling and airlines and things like that.
You were probably kind of an expert on hospitality from your experiences on the patron side.
Yeah, and my stepfather was in the airline business as well, so that was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on, in what capacity? Let's just, because you've swept a few things under the carpet.
He was manager in Hong Kong of MEA, which is the Middle Eastern Airlines based out of Lebanon. So before we
He was
moved
the
to
manager
Lebanon.
of an airline.
Right.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so we traveled a lot, and it was fun. It kind of left an impact. But I got my first, master in hospitality, started working for KPMG as a practical trainee in the National Real Estate and Hospitality Consulting practice. But I wanted to go on and focus more on accounting and not stop at the one degree. So they actually
Oh, you're so smart. That's so smart.
offered to, sponsor me for a green card, KPMG in Miami, but I wanted to continue my education because I thought, in hospitality there are two ways to get to a top position like general manager, but the other way is becoming a controller, and you can only do that if you, study accounting and not just a general, hotel management degree. So I moved to Boston to Bentley University to get my second Master of Science.
That's a little bit more. That's a little bit more America.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so cold.
I mean, didn't they pen the document up there? I think.
Yeah.
But mostly I lived in New York City, and then I would take Amtrak or the drive up back to college, half the week, and then go back for half the week to New York City. And
That's crazy.
So you would drive right through Connecticut.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Oh God, long 4 hours of driving.
Sure.
But so I still didn't own a car then, and
Oh, really? And you weren't taking the train? Because you can go take the train straight from. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. Too late now, I guess.
Well, Amtrak was there. Actually, I did own a car in Miami. It was my first one. It was a graduation present.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you don't want to drive from Miami to Boston. I was
No,
just thinking the
no,
New York
no.
to Boston run is pretty common with people doing that. Especially even comedians used to do it all the time. So probably still do it all the time.
Yeah, so after I graduated, I started working for KPMG in New York City, and that was pretty incredible. It was.
Did they place you automatically because you had already had a history there?
Well, they offered me an internship because I already had the practical training from Miami, and this was then an audit, which is different, and so you do need the specialized accounting degree for that. And, accounting was important to me because my father and grandfather from Hong Kong were actually accountants. So.
In the blood.
Yeah, my grandfather was the grandfather of accounting in Hong Kong. So he was known to implement, the ethical rules related to auditing and preparing financial statements and just sort of westernizing, the systems that they were using over there. And then my father studied at Cambridge, and then he took over the firm and built it into the largest accounting firm in Hong Kong and China.
So basically you have to live up to this,
exactly. So
okay.
that was the thing, it was sort of like, get good grades, being half Chinese and half German, that sort of the expectation.
Yeah.
Even if you had done 50 other million things, so accomplished in other places, if you hadn't done that, you never would have been right in their eyes. Is that what you were thinking?
Well, yeah.
Got to make do at home?
There
Make
are
good at home?
certain professions that, Chinese value, and one is doctor, one is lawyer, one is accountant, and, sort of everything else is, I don't think my father would approve of me being a race car driver. But I think.
What if you were making so much money you were keeping all the accountants really busy?
I mean, I don't think it's really about that, but I think he would be secretly proud, and think it's rather gutsy and, that kind of
Yes.
thing. So on the surface, he wouldn't approve, but deep down, he would be proud.
Is your father gone?
He is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all theatrical at this point.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Same boat. Okay, so now where are we? All right, so you do
New York.
You do have a car? No, you don't have a car in New York at this point. You
Right.
had one in Miami, but you're back working in the hospitality in this field.
Yeah. So after, I was a really big career woman, type A personality. I really enjoyed working a lot, and my career was super important. So I, worked for KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Lehman Brothers. I was director of accounting for the Hudson Hotel, controller for the Paramount Hotel. Those are both Ian Schrager properties. And then I had my first child. Got married and had 2 children. And after the first one was born, moved to Connecticut,
Oh, no
50
kidding.
miles away.
Can you say where you lived?
Yeah, it was north of Stamford, near Pound Ridge and Bedford.
I know it very well. Sure.
And I mean, literally,
That's
the
the same area I grew up.
nearest deli was 5 miles away. It was very isolated, and it was a beautiful mid-century modern house, but it was. I knew right away, after Zoe was born.
You're describing woods, by the way, and you seem to be a city person.
I'm actually a country girl, but farms, not houses, just farms with animals. It's really, but it wasn't
Not a Frank Lloyd Wright in the
farms.
woods. I got you.
Exactly, not a Frank Lloyd Wright in the woods. But yeah, I knew I didn't want to. I couldn't not work, So there are moms that are very happy staying at home, and I totally respect that as full-time moms. And then there are other moms who are career women, and I would define myself more as a career woman.
Yeah.
So my ex-husband and I, we started our own business in luxury outdoor furniture and grew it into an award-winning business with 9 design awards and 2 booth design awards. And the furniture is in all 5-star hotels around the world, including 4 Seasons. It's in the King of Morocco's palace in Rabat.
This is amazing.
You're amazing.
You came in here,
Congratulations.
complimenting. She's like, "No, I like what you've done in here. I like the your stuff." Oh my gosh!
So
Now I'm embarrassed.
you guys are amazing. I mean, look at this place. I mean, I know people can't see the whole place here, but it's I was walked into a fantasy land in
Oh,
here.
yeah, it's a land of make-believe for
No,
sure.
it's like a total movie fantasy land. It's beautiful. It's dark, and it's totally like a set.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It got here. It got to this place. But thank you for that. So is this a mid-century? I mean, I'm assuming based on the house you lived in and then the person you. So is it mid-century style, this outdoor luxury furniture?
It's different. It's sort of not the norm. And our factory was in Indonesia, and Philippines, which have better quality than some other countries that make it. And everything was, sustainable, natural fibers that are truly made to last rather than.
Is the company no longer around?
Oh, no, it's still around.
Oh, okay.
So he's still running it.
Should we say the name or no?
Neoteric Luxury. So it's Neoteric Luxury Outdoor Collections.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it was really wonderful, having the business. Moved from New York City, started the business in New York, moved to Miami Beach,
Oof.
kept growing the business and, making more contacts, had a retail showroom there as well as the hospitality clients.
Well, there's your outdoor space, Miami over New York,
Yeah,
for sure.
and that's where I started getting into cars in Miami.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so now we're finally
That's in Miami?
in Miami.
Holy
Is it because
jeez.
you're just surrounded by all of the exotics and really almost everything?
Well, the weather was incredible, and I had tried BMW, Mercedes, and finally in 2011 I said, you know what, I want to get my dream car, which is the Porsche 911. Now it's the GT3 RS, but at the beginning,
just to
first
get a
things
911,
first,
sure.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Basics.
So I ended up buying my first Porsche, which was a 2009 997.2.
It's the car that we
911.
met you in, right? The
That's
Martina
right.
livery.
That is now my race car. Yeah, so it means the most to me. That Fire Horse is her name.
Fire Horse is her name? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Fire Horse.
yeah. I was born in the year of the Fire Horse, so.
Oh, I see. So it's not just a fire chicken kind of rip there. I see. Rip on the Firebird. Okay, so you got that. But so you bought that car in Miami then? Mm-hmm. And then how did you get to Los Angeles?
What moved
Well, we
here,
took the 10.
moved here in 13. So I had become a member of the PCA in Miami, but it was really, but it was cars and coffee.
Yeah.
And then when I moved here, I wanted to find somewhere where I could go to the racetrack because with Neoteric Luxury, we sponsored an event every year, which was my favorite event of the whole year, which was a track day. Track days at Pikes
Where?
Peak
Oh, my
International
goodness
Raceway.
gracious.
Yeah. First, we
That's
started
awesome.
at Pueblo Motorsports Park, and then we moved it, and we would stay at the Broadmoor, and it was a networking event, and we would get to drive cars on the track, and they would bring a lot of. Actually, the guy from Benjamin West is a real big Porsche guy himself, and so he would bring all of his friends from the PCA from Colorado, from Boulder and everywhere, and they would all come to Colorado Springs with their Porsches and other exotics, Cadillac Allards and really cool stuff and
sounds
GT3s.
really
cool. Sure.
There was an Aston Martin racing car. It was at the time the only 3 were in the United States. So it was really.
Was that James Corden?
No.
No.
His is a street car.
Oh, that's right.
No, but, that really got my interest. These track days, I looked forward to it. As soon as I left there in April, I was looking forward to next April.
Yeah.
So when we moved to California, I was like, wow, this place is so beautiful with the mountains and
The
the
driving
canyon
roads.
roads, and lived in the Palisades, so the PCH was just right there. And it really sparked my passion for driving. And quite frankly as well, being a mother of 2 and a full-time business owner, as a means of getting away. Just sort of having your time to yourself.
Clear
and
your head. Get your own time.
Right.
It makes perfect sense.
listen to super loud, techno, trance, deep house or drum and
Is that what you do to
bass
get in the
music.
groove?
Yeah. I still
never
love it.
would have thought that.
Yeah, I was secretly wanted to be a DJ as well.
Well, that I could see with your international, experience and everything.
Yeah.
Man, I think that you are maybe. We said this to Diane though. Maybe you might have to buy the boat and live in the marina and sell Dos Equis. Okay, so you got the 997. Now in Miami, there's tons of cars, but there isn't really many places to drive. You know,
No,
you can
not at
do
all.
the runway type driving. You know, fast 0 to 60, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Oh, I didn't think about
200 miles
that.
an hour and stuff. But there are no turns. There are no hills. There's
Yeah.
just not good driving.
Yeah,
roads.
there's no good driving. there.
10 lanes to go straight all day long.
Yeah.
So now you've got the car. Now you've got the roads.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do first? You mentioned, I'm doing a PCH and these other things, but did you? We met you. You're in the Porsche Owners Club, and
Yeah.
I think you're in the PCA as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Different ones.
exactly. Okay, so what did you start doing to then start working towards? I mean, you didn't have a car. You weren't even a driver.
Yeah.
Now you have a race car, and you're learning to race cars.
Right.
That's a transition.
It's a very
that
different
escapes
world
me.
that I don't think a lot of people can understand how that would
Yeah.
happen.
So, like I said, the interest was sparked from the track days in Colorado. And when I moved here, I really enjoyed, and it took, honestly, moving a business is super challenging. So
Yeah.
we kept showroom warehouse over in Miami and opened the same over here. So it was sort of,
You
the
had
first
both?
few years we're focusing
Oh,
on both. So there wasn't really much time other than the drives that were so inspiring to me. But I finally, started researching in 14, where can I go? That's not just Cars and Coffee. Of course, I signed up for PCA Los Angeles. That's my region, as well as San Diego for some of their racing. But I wanted something more than that. So I found the Porsche Owners Club. And, I mean, the first time, I'm going to cry. The first time I, drove up the 14 to the track, 2 Streets of Willow, it was... it changed my life,
Was this like a life goal achieved? Like a
And
bucket
it-
list type item?
I mean, I didn't even know what I was driving towards, but I was driving away from what I was coming from,
Isn't that
you know,
wonderful?
and it was something that I had wanted to leave for a while, and it sort of had been percolating in my brain, and
And
I
that's
think
when it happened?
that
Like that's when
that,
it came out?
That drive was kind of like, the troubles are sort of, going away behind me as I'm driving up the 14. And I mean, still that road the other day, I almost started crying again because it means that
It'll
much
come
to
up
me.
every time, I'm
Every
sure.
time, yeah.
Oh, isn't that
So,
wonderful?
Yeah,
I love that you have such an emotional attachment to it for such a good
Yeah.
reason.
yeah. So,
You heard us talking about before about the life reshuffle. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to say goodbye.
right. But I think it's also, it's not just reshuffling. It's, as women, we're always taking care of everyone, everything, children, business, getting the groceries, cooking, husbands, like everything. And you sort of don't have time left for yourself.
Right.
And when we moved here, I'm just going to say the first few years, 13 to 16, were the 3 worst years of my life. And on a personal level and just the whole, business moving. And it was sort of, I had really forgotten who I was. And it was not fun, And so that drive up to Streets of Willow with Porsche Owners Club, I mean, I walked in and the only woman there was Lori, Lori, who's now with Vision Motorsports. Everyone else was a guy, but I didn't care. I worked in the male-dominated finance and accounting industry in
You can
New
handle
York.
it,
Who
yeah.
cares, But it was just fun. It was like noise, of the cars, and I put all this really ugly like blue tape,
Oh, yeah. Protect it from rock chips, sure.
But then I wanted to go more, but in 15 and 16, I really didn't have that much time. But every time I would go, I would get new color tape. It would be like white and red this time, or, light blue, and
You're finding your way.
yeah, it was
Baby
really fun.
steps to
Yes.
improvement. That sounds
Put
Yeah.
your
awesome.
stamp on it.
Yeah, it was really neat, and I would really look forward to. I would get up at 4 and then drive up and only stay till maybe the 3rd session and then go home to my kids again. Now it's like
It's still
Thursday
weird.
through Sunday. Now it's like the whole thing, test days and whatever time I can get in the car. But yeah, I mean really, I mean, Porsche Owners Club and Firehorse, my 911, they both changed my life.
Oh, I love it.
And so I'm very attached to the car. Yeah.
Well, I had
We
no
get
idea
it.
that it was so personal to you
Yeah.
in that way. I mean, you know that ours is to us for a very similar reason. I
Is
mean,
it
it's just,
really? The yellow one?
We
I
got our
love it.
car when we thought we weren't going to make it.
Oh, wow.
It was one of those type of things. Well, we always wanted a 911, not dissimilar.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously it's our mobility. I mean, you know, Mrs. Ryan can't walk that well, and now we can get her out there.
I
you know.
loved your Christmas tree last week.
It's still on the car. It's downstairs
That
in the
was
garage.
great. So you took it to PCLA. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, do you know the story behind that? And,
No.
and then get back to you real quick. Somebody brought it up to. Are you okay?
Yes, I'm
You're
fine.
emotional too. It's good. I know. I can tell they're good, happy
Emotional,
tears.
But what else? Yeah.
Somebody brought it up to Breakfast Club on their car just for photos, and they
Mm-hmm.
were going to leave it there because it was a hassle. They didn't want to drive all the way back to wherever they were going with it.
Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah, I'm just going to leave it." I said, "I don't think that's
No.
true. I think one of us is going to take it." And
Uh-huh.
then we got the lucky straw there.
Yeah.
So that was all. So then we just kept it. Now we're taking pictures with it everywhere.
That's so
it's adorable.
because they had the Christmas theme last week at,
PEC, yeah.
That's special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very cool.
It's a
I don't
pretty
think
cool
I would
thing.
put a Christmas tree on mine.
No.
Well, but look at the two. Look at the two. You know, yours is focused on the racetrack, and ours is kind of just a canyon whatever car.
Yeah, no, I love your drives up, to, where is it?
Newcomb's?
Yeah.
To Newcomb's? Yeah,
Newman's,
every
right.
Friday.
Very cool.
Well, if you're not doing anything some Friday morning, you should take the drive up. The drive is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have Firehorse. Now you're doing the racing stuff. At some point, you decide I need more power. You decide I want faster. What did you? How? At some point, you got a different 911 also,
Well,
or is there something in the middle I'm skipping?
yeah, in the middle there was a big trip to Dubai, and I really enjoyed my my business trips. You know, for the same reason I enjoyed going to the track. It was
Yeah.
so just wonderful. You know, traveling by myself
The
and
freedom.
walking through Paris airport or Frankfurt.
Yeah.
But there was one flight on Etihad, which is an 18-hour direct flight from LAX to Abu Dhabi. And it flies over the Atlantic and the Sahara Desert. And it's such an incredible time to think up in the air and
When you're over nothing.
over nothing,
Yeah.
in nothing. And you're not reachable by anyone. There's no Wi-Fi. And it's such a peaceful feeling. And
It's like the last free place on this. Not even
Exact-
on this earth. I guess.
yeah, and I've really made some very important big decisions up there. And so I had already, been thinking about that I haven't been happy for 5 years or so. This was in end of 16, and rode a horse in the desert because the conference center wasn't ready for me to set up the booth. And in, Dubai,
In
the
Dubai.
Dubai
That's
conference
nuts.
center. And I always used to
can't.
love riding horses in general, but in Bahrain, which is very similar, the climate, it's desert and the sunset, the air is completely different. It's very magical, when the sun sets there. And I took a taxi 1.5 hours from the hotel. I had actually taken the wrong currency. I almost didn't have enough to pay for the taxi.
You don't want to do that there.
No.
You really don't want to do that there.
Not
But
the
I
point.
got on the horse, and that was my epiphany moment, one of the biggest in my life, where I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to focus on what I love doing, which is the race car driving. At that point, I was a track driver, and I'm going to I named her my Porsche 911 Firehorse, that moment on the horse. So then we came back. I came back. Me and her,
Yep.
Firehorse in my head, and things changed. I focused. I've only missed one out of the last 38 or 9 months
Wow.
with the Porsche Owners Club. I couldn't go
Wow.
to Chuck Walla this year.
Whoa.
It was I had the kids, and so it's been
That's a
3
lot.
years
That's
of constant driving, trying to improve, and 3 championships now.
Yeah, that doesn't suck. That feels great.
It does
doesn't
not suck
doesn't
at
that feel
all.
good?
It feels really great. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, but it was good to have the goal. The goal for each year in each class. First, it was stock. Then in 2018, I modified it slightly with Vision Motorsports. We put on a stock wing, which was so small. I mean, it was Not great to look at because it was the one you saw.
Yeah,
right?
it was fine, but looking at it now,
it
it's
was
completely
fine.
different.
Hilarious.
And,
It was, though. It was like a stocky kind
Yeah,
of
it was a stock.
aero kit. Yeah.
and then now in 2019, it's finally a GT4 class race car, which is amazing. I love it's a Fab Speed exhaust, and the wing is huge, and I love it.
Is that Vision set
Oh
that
yeah,
up? All
Vision Motorsports did
Yep.
everything, and they're amazing. They're
Love
in
those guys.
Laguna Hills, and you know the thing about race car driving for me is, and why I've chosen them to do the work, is you're entrusting the person with your life, and quite frankly, Dwayne DeMent is the best at what he does. He has 40 years of experience, and he's so talented with. He's a race car driver and a mechanic, so he'll drive your car 1 or 2 laps, and then he'll be like, okay,
He knows what it is.
He knows what it is. So, to me, the safety was really important, and it actually pains me to see some people try and do some major things to their car by themselves because it's not really safe, you know, or fair to other people if, you know, their oil starts leaking on the track. So there's a lot that goes into, there are many, by the way, there are many reputable Porsche shops. I just, you know, choose Vision. They're very big into the racing thing and building race cars and everything.
Yeah, Los Angeles is not shy of
No,
excellent
not at
race
all.
shops, especially for Porsche. They are
Yes.
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go down all the lists, but
Right.
yes, I can think of at least a half dozen on one
Yeah.
hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's too many fingers. So, but at what point did you get the RS then? So now you're getting accomplished in Fire Horse.
Fire Horse. So a year ago, I was.
It was only a year ago?
It was a year ago. So
Oh my
in
gosh.
October, you know, you start thinking about what your next year is going to be and which race class you want to be in, what you're going to need to do to your car, you know, how many more events you need to complete this year for the championship, that kind of thing. So last September, it was sort of like, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to do GT4? Like, what is it? And so knowing that I was converting Firehorse, and the other option would have been to buy a different race car that was already a GT4.
Interesting. I see why you had to tell it this way.
Yeah.
You ruined Firehorse for the road,
Right.
so you needed another.
I needed another sweet car, and so the GT3 RS has always been. I mean,
Totally practical choice.
I know, right? So it's always been my
Prius or the RS?
It's been my dream for years. I love it. It sounds so amazing. It puts the biggest grin on my face every time I drive it,
Yeah.
and that's without any. There's no modifications, and
It's just as it comes.
as it comes. And so a few
You
years
got
ago,
white with the black, right? Or is it
GT
off?
silver.
Oh, it's silver. Okay.
With, you know, black and silver inside
black
and yellow
accents.
calipers and the martini livery.
Of course. Of course.
But so a few years ago, I set up my email as Martina GT3 RS. You know, visionary, like thinking, wishful thinking.
It works.
And it's been incredible driving it, and so much fun bringing it to shows and supercar shows and driving it to the PEC. And
Yeah.
it's really been, I love the car.
Have you taken that on the track at all, just for the sake of it, or is not really any need to?
No, there isn't a need to. I mean, I have the 911 and as well as driving the Saleen. So
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about your? Now you got a ride. So how did that happen? Was it based on your credentials from racing Porsche that you got a ride on Saleen? How did you want to tell us?
well, yeah, I was at Cars and Copters with Silver Bullet
Yeah.
GT3 RS.
Oh, is that the name?
Yeah.
Silver Bullet?
Yeah.
Big Coors fan, are you? Could see Martina knocking back.
So, and a friend from my Formula One fantasy group walked over with 2 executives from Saleen to my car at the show and introduced them to me. And it was Gabrielle Couchinger, who's the director of motorsports of Saleen, who used to be the FIA technical director for many years. And we talked about Saleen. Honestly, you know, I wasn't really that familiar with American brands, and certainly not a smaller American brand such as Saleen. But of course, as soon as, you know, I love to research, so I went home and I was like, wow, you know, Steve Saleen, the S7.
Yeah, that's what I said. Did it start with the Mustangs, or did he start with the supercar first? I never really knew how it started.
Well, he did race the Saleen Mustangs, and so he still, works with to convert the Saleen Mustangs, and there's a huge following around the world. People love the Saleen family in general,
Yeah.
and the Saleen Mustangs, and the Saleen S7s, and as well now the S1, which is going to be a street car next year.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is that a ground up new thing, or is that going to be a rebadge of another product? Like the Ford Mustangs are.
Oh no,
Saleen.
this
So
is
a
this
ground
is
up.
original Steve Saleen. All the cars for the Saleen Cup series, which was running as part of the Blancpain GT World Challenge series, were made here in Corona, California.
Wow.
So it's made in America by a family business, which I think is really special nowadays with all the big brands. And
It's really rare.
I believe in small businesses, and especially a family as lovely as they are, It's and then Molly, I was racing with Molly Saleen as well. So anyway, but getting to it, so a few days later, Gabrielle calls, and after the Cars and Copter shows, what would you like to drive the car as part of the Saleen Cup? And I'm thinking
She's offering you a seat. There's that casually.
he is.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I mean, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, there are so many more people who are experienced, females and males, at race car driving. I'm relatively entry level. I am entry level. Let's face it, it's been 3 years. So I couldn't believe that they were offering me this chance to do this, and of course, I was like, I've always thought about Richard Branson's quote and I've used it in my business, where somebody asks you to do something and you're like, how the hell am I going to do that?
Yes.
But just say yes and then learn how to do it.
Figure it
so,
out later.
I mean, after that, it was like simulators and.
So they made the offer? Did you hear it in your head? Did you hear Branson saying, just say yes, just say yes,
Yeah.
just say yes?
Yeah, I'm like, absolutely, no problem. I can do this,
Great.
So, but it was like, wow, how the hell am I going to prepare myself to drive a car that's almost double the power of my own? It's turbocharged. I mean,
It's larger size, too. I mean, it's everything about it's bigger.
Everything.
You're
It's a
scaling up all around.
powerhouse, and it makes all sorts of sounds that I had never heard before, except at one point in my childhood. Yeah. So.
What was that point? You brought it up.
Living in Beirut. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't I didn't mean to make you emotional. So it just brought back those memories of that
It
time.
did. It actually.
When you had to leave?
When we lived there. Okay. So there were, bombs and rockets and explosions every night. So when during the day, my sister and I would collect empty bullet shells and bomb shrapnel for fun. And at night, that's when, you would start hearing the machine guns come closer to your apartment building. And, the explosions would happen. And so for pretty much a lot of my life, I was afraid of the dark and afraid of the sound of fireworks. So everyone loves July 4th and December 31st. And I'm like, I really don't want to hear it,
I think that's perfectly understandable.
So when I got in the Saleen for the first time at Thermal this May, it freaked me out. I was like,
PTSD.
What is this? Why am I afraid? Like, I'm really courageous person in general. And because of the experience in Beirut, like, I've considered myself pretty fearless on a horse and a car, whatever I've done. But wow, that was kind of a big deal for me. So it took me a while to get over it, to be able to get in the car and be like, yep, I've got this,
Yeah.
So
that's a PTSD, right? I mean, that for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious. So when you say it took a long while, do you mean like, it took 15 minutes, a couple laps, it took a few weeks, it took half the season?
Well,
are you still not 100%?
Oh, no. So the season started in Portland in July, and then we did Watkins Glen in August, Road America in September, and we had the finale in October in Las Vegas. So kind of July was one of the pivotal months for me where I was doing a lot of simulator training. I was basically at the PECLA every day.
Wow.
I would just drive there and practice the different tracks. And then one day we were doing a test day in Buttonwillow with the Saleen. And I was still like, I'm a little afraid of the car. What the hell is my problem? Like, get over it. Like, come on.
What's the block?
It's just,
Get
it's
through
not
it.
like.
Did you need? Was it the car? You were still intimidated by the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So is it the type of thing where you almost need to lose it a little bit and then kind of find?
Well,
So there's a weird confidence that comes from losing it because then you know where the line is. You know what I mean? Assuming you don't hit the wall or something.
Well,
You go, oh, I've done that. Now I know I can fight against it.
I think to me it was the sound. It wasn't the car itself or how it drove. It drives amazing. It actually, now I love the sound, and it's so fast. I mean, it's like lightning. It's like a Kentucky Derby racehorse. It was the sound. So the day I was going to Buttonwillow, driving over the Grapevine, again, another one of those roads. I'm like, I finally realized what the hell it was. It was my association with living in Beirut. So what I did is on my YouTube, I listened at full volume. I found like a war video, and I just listened to explosions and rockets being fired off.
To
and
desensitize yourself.
Yeah. And
You acclimated to it.
it,
Wow.
yeah, by the time I reached the bottom of the Grapevine, along the way I had cried, and I was thinking about, my sister and I had shared a room. But then after, I had listened to it for like an hour and a half, I got to Buttonwillow. I'm like, wow, no problem. I can get in this
It's
car.
a weird kind of exposure therapy.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
sounds
You
like.
reprogrammed
And,
yourself.
Yeah, we do that. We do
Yeah.
stuff like that all the time. So I totally understand what you did, but it
Yeah.
sounds not.
It's all wet matter, neuroplasty. So you
Yeah.
just took care of that program.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're so smart.
Yeah.
I love that you believe that you can do those things and then just go do.
Yeah, so it was an incredible season with them, and now we're discussing 2020.
About coming back.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do you want to?
I would love to. I
Okay.
mean, it's really, I love Porsche, but I also love a lot of different cars, and the Saleen is phenomenal. So as a race car, it's wow. I mean, you couldn't hope for more. And the hospitality they had, I mean, the whole thing was, as the kids nowadays would say, very extra.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think that's just great. I'm so happy for you. It seems like you're living the dream. I mean, you're doing something you always wanted to do, and you've been successful in other things that you've already wanted to accomplish.
I'm grateful. I mean, that's the most important thing. I think it's important to stay humble, number one. You can't take things for granted. You can't take life, health, anything for granted. Relationships. I think everything needs to be nurtured and, appreciated, and, it's not just, lucky, just freely and luckily walking through life. It definitely takes some thought and sensitivity and appreciation. So
Love that. Put in the effort.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you've got a great energy. You're very calming. Do people ever tell you that? I mean, maybe that's the race car driver in you, or maybe just everything you've been through in your life, but you're just really easy.
I mean, I
Very
try.
chill. Do you feel it too?
I feel the chill. It seems race-like, athletic prowess-like to me. So I immediately.
Oh, like someone who's in really good shape, and so their heart rate's low?
Yeah, and who knows that they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
And so I bow
could be.
down to that energy whenever I feel it.
Is that true? Is any of that
Right now, yes. I mean, before, the first few days leading up to a race weekend, oh my God, it's like
Nerves.
the adrenaline's, pumping. And so one of my role models as a child was Bruce Lee. And
Oh, wonderful.
one of the favorite sayings for me is, be like water, my friend. So that's the calming quality. And what made me think of it is watching Dwayne DeMent driving,
Really?
and he's so
Dwayne from Vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so zen-like driving, and he'll just, he just gets in the car, and it's like nothing.
No effort, right?
No, it's just perfect.
That's
And
what you want.
So I've learned so many things from him, including you have to be smooth and calm. You see in videos like people going like that, and that's not
Dukes
the
of
way.
Hazzard. That's Dukes of Hazzard and Fast and the
You know?
Furious. They go through 26 gears and they do a quarter mile in about a minute and a half in Fast and the Furious. None of that's real.
Yeah.
Veils are lifting every way you look.
All right. Well, we've gone the hour. We should probably think about wrapping it up. But what can we look forward to from you? What you've? I mean, perhaps a Saleen ride in 2020. What about other stuff?
So, I actually spoke to Gabrielle Couchinger from Saleen called this morning, so that was exciting. And I'm going to Thermal.
So this is
I'm
maybe
going to
about
Thermal
to happen.
next week on the 18th. And so Porsche 911, club racing with the POC next year, the Saleen S1, and we might also do, this was part of this morning's conversation, something with the China GT Championship, which
Really?
would mean a lot to
Whoa.
me.
Again, going home.
That's so cool.
And then I'm also planning on being a professional speaker, hopefully at women's empowerment conferences
Good for
next
you.
year. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of these type podcasts and things like that? Do you do this?
I do kind of regularly some podcasts.
It's on here. I forgot to mention it earlier, though, but I do want to mention it before we leave. Women in Porsche. You participated in that as well, right?
Yes, I did.
Is that you're from
Lorena.
Lorena
Yes.
Esposito, yeah.
Yeah.
How was that experience? The video was great.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done her video yet.
Oh, okay.
We were both.
But there's some teasers. It looks like you have.
Really? That's funny. No, I mean we're also part of a group of women who were featured in Automobile magazine recently with our Porsches. Women.
Oh, I
in
may be
Porsche.
confusing the
yeah,
things then.
So there's the women in Porsche. I consider the ladies who were part of the Automobile magazine.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I mean there are many different organizations.
What am I thinking of, though? I saw a picture of you at the PEC with Mariana Small and a bunch of other people we knew,
Yeah.
and is that what I'm thinking of?
That's the Automobile magazine group of ladies.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Lorena, who's part of that, has her own, at Women in Porsche, and Mariana Small and Christine Nielsen have Accelerating Change, which is another women's organization.
That one I don't know as much about, but I think that's track days as well, right?
As well, yeah.
That's cool.
It's
Really cool.
Really great. I mean, I would encourage anyone. I'm here to help. Like anyone who wants to come to a track day, especially women. I don't want anyone to feel shy to walk into the room with everyone still being a man almost, which is pretty
Knowledge
crazy.
is knowledge, man. You guys share it really openly, and for anyone to intake anything, like you're such a good source of that. So thanks for sharing it.
Cars, racing. Porsche just covered that. Porsche versus Saleen, we got that. Childhood, got a little bit more than we bargained for on that one. How about this? What do you do to relax? Is it just the racetrack now? Is that the answer? Do you ever do anything just for you? Do you meditate? You do the spa? Hang out with friends? Drink?
Well, no,
What do you-
I don't go out or go to bars or clubs or anything. That
Shuffleboard?
no. I love horses, and so I'm looking forward to spending. For me, it's really relaxing to be around on a farm and the whole smells and it's quiet and
I love how nostalgic you are. I'm interrupting you, but it's come up about 4 different times in this whole thing. I'm everything is about nostalgia for me. I'm all about the feels. You seem to be connected to that stuff.
Yeah. So I really enjoy being sort of in remote locations where there aren't a lot of people around and just horses and maybe Dwayne. Yeah. So.
I love that. I love that.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how do you feel? Do you feel good from this
I
experience?
feel great. Thank you. You guys are, again, amazing.
We'll take it. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We'll
You're
take
amazing.
it. We're doing this, and we don't think we're amazing. That's for sure. You know what I'm saying? Everyone thinks.
You know what? I mean,
We're not doing this because we think, oh, we're so good, we should have a show.
no,
It's
I mean,
not. That's
you
not
guys
it.
are different. You're real. I mean, that's really good. That's important nowadays. I think there's a lot of superficiality and on the surface kind of ha ha ha, kind of behavior, and that's not really what life is about.
Yeah.
So.
Well said. Well
Love
said.
that you get it.
Yeah. You're a delight. I hope we see you more often.
Me too. I hope so too.
I'm trying to think. Maybe the next. I don't know what the next one, but one of these track days, maybe we should just at least go out just to audit at least, so you can see some of the stuff, and
That
maybe
would be
maybe get a
nice.
ride and drive around, so you can feel what
That'd be
that's like.
great.
One of those things.
That would be fun.
We'll see. You're fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh,
Thank you.
one thing. How do
Yes.
people find? How do people stay abreast with all of the things going on? This is a segment we call Billboard. Tell us about social media or anything else. However, people can find you.
So I like Instagram a lot. So it's at Martina Kwan, Kwan. And I have a website now. That's martinakwan.com. And Facebook, it's Martina Kwan, but there's also Martina Kwan business profile. LinkedIn, WeChat.
All the stuff.
Yeah.
How do you keep up with it all? Are you able to? Are you able to do all the things you normally do in your life, and the kids and the racing and business and everything else, and then also keep up with 5 social medias?
Well, you kind of have to. When I
Oh,
met
the answer is
when,
yes.
When I met you on that drive up, that was basically my first post in Instagram 2 years ago, and now it is quite a lot of work actually.
Yeah.
It takes some time to research and really prepare the posts and
Yes.
what to write, what to hashtag and stuff.
If you're
It's-
mindful, some people just rattle that shit right out.
It's better to be, especially when you're posting like historic or other people's pictures. I think it's important to credit them,
Yeah.
So
Have your facts straight.
get the facts straight.
Know what you're putting out.
All right, Mrs. Ryan, what do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Friday.
This is the end of the week, Martina. Thank you so much for celebrating with us. That's exciting.
Yes.
Then
On a high note.
in that case, tomorrow is Breakfast Club.
Yes,
Newcombs.
sir.
Saturday is, there's a lot of things, but we'll be at LAG, Lazy Auto Kennel Gathering, 9 to 11 down at Auto Kennel. And then Sunday is the 5C event, Gertrude's
Over at
5C
Mila,
over at
yeah.
Mila Chocolates in Culver City. Highly recommend that as
Cool.
well. Lots of good stuff. There is no shortage of things to do in this town.
That's right.
Do you ever run out of Porsche events? Oh, there's nothing to do today.
Oh, no,
There's 10
there's
things every
always-
day.
Always something. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. Mrs. Ryan, I love you so very much.
Love you
Martina
too.
Kwan, we love you so
Love
very
you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
We love you at home. Please love one another. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. That was a nightmare.
Why? What happened?
Just technical stuff.
Really?
Yeah, left and right. It seemed like every day there was a new problem. So we bought a bunch of new equipment and hopefully it
Oh,
figured it
really?
out.